CU's double overtime win over Colorado State is the most watched college football game of the season through 3 weeks. It is the 5th most watched college football game in ESPN's history. That's the big one. Now, number one, Colorado State was part of the most watched college football game so far of the year. That's wild. The Rocky Mountain Showdown barely registers a national blip on the radar, and this was the most watched college football game of the season. But that out of all of the decades ESPN has had college football, that's the 5th most watched game. Through its 3 games, CU has had 25 million viewers, by far the most of the country. So nobody has watched more. More people have not watched any other program. Alabama, take your pick, USC, Ohio State, Michigan. More people have watched Colorado than any other program through 3 weeks. And there's been, of the top 5 most watched games of the year, Colorado's had 3 of them. Now, part of this is they've been scheduled well. They had TCU to start off the season, then Nebraska, then Colorado State. And so, you have 2 Power 5 schools to start things with Colorado. It's a tough schedule. TCU, they're a Pac-12 team still, so that's a Big 12 matchup. Team that just went to the national championship game. Nebraska, a Big 10 squad, old rival. And then they got the bonus of Colorado State and their coach, Jay Norvell, who took his shot at Deion. So that was the hype intrinsically. It was already building for Deion, but then they got that. But I think also this kind of perfect storm where the scheduling has been good, early season in college football, there's not really a lot to hang your hat on. There's so few big matchups. Is that Deion has made something that has been about tradition, legacy, old schoolness, fresh. College football, and this is why I love college football, the jerseys don't change much. You don't leverage your city to leave for another city for a new stadium. Same stadiums. You just add on an end zone, add on an upper deck, add on some luxury suites. This is the same stadiums we've had for 75 years. I love Penn State's uniforms. I love them. Absolutely. I think they're beautiful, gorgeous. Deion is walking into something that's been about traditions and legacy and alumni, and the same, that Saturdays in the fall for your school has been the same since you went to school or you grew up watching that school or your dad went to that school or your mom went to that school or maybe when your grandparents went to that school. That works in college football. It's what it is. And Deion walked in and pulled the pin of the grenade and blew it all up. It's so different. When do you ever see celebrities every week on the sideline of college football games? Okay, Snoop shows up to a few USC games, Will Ferrell, and we all just kind of chalk that up as, oh, that's the LA thing. When do you ever see Wu-Tang on the sidelines of a college football game? It's not built that way. And because it's so new and so unique and so fresh, people are like, I gotta tune in. It's like one big carnival that has never quite been. And I think the only thing I can relate it to were the Miami Hurricanes teams of the 80s and 90s that were so swashbuckling that they showed up to the Fiesta Bowl wearing camos, fatigues, walking off the plane. The Jimmy Johnson kind of like screw you'd to anybody that questioned the integrity of the program. We're here to fight. This is who we are. We're going to dance. We're going to showboat. We're going to run out of the tunnel or run back into the tunnel. We will trash talk you all day long. We'll show up in camos. We don't give a bleep. No school did that before, and really no school's done it since, and Miami's still hanging on to that when they were renegades. And it made Miami so unbelievably interesting. Many people across America thought they were the end of college football. You couldn't have student athletes act this way, coaches act this way, programs be so rogue. And college football went on. But the thing that melds and connects both Miami of the 80s and 90s and Deion is that they won. Deion's shtick is boring if they lose. If they were 1-2 with a win over Colorado State in regulation, 31-20, they're unranked losers to a couple of power teams. You know, nobody would really care. It'd be like, oh, yeah, Deion's coaching Colorado. Let's see what they get going. It's kind of interesting, but people would move on. The fact is he has ratcheted up the sound every week because there's something on the line. They're ranked. They're undefeated. People are betting on them. If you're 1-2, you're 0-3. If they're 4-8, it's not that interesting anymore. Miami was interesting because Miami won national championships. Miami was interesting because Miami competed for national championships. Miami was interesting because they kept pumping out NFL first-round talent, so you just had to watch NFL on Sunday to see Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, Warren Sapp, Michael Irvin. Go down the list. It was just stud after stud after stud after stud after stud. Jim Kelly, Cortez Kennedy. I mean, the entire league was like, oh, there's a U, there's a U, there's a Kane, there's a Kane. You got to win. And the 49ers are not going to sit around their dining table around the mess hall or their hotel on the road on Saturday night and whoop it up, like Fred Warner said, as though it was the Super Bowl, if it's an unranked 1-2 Colorado team. It's just, that's not that interesting. Got to win. Miami won. Colorado's winning. They won't win like this forever. They might get their butts handed to them this week by Oregon. But we'll see what the attention's like if they end up at 4-8, which seems like they're much better than that. But now they lose Travis Hunter, lacerated liver, which is kind of a crazy injury, but he took a few big shots in this game against the Rams. And if you're going to talk like this and have the style and have the substance, there has to be an element of winning. You don't have to win everything. I mean, Deion was famous, and he was famous before he won a Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons. He was famous. So you can be famous, but the team only resonates. It's not like Falcons games were always the highest rated game of the weekend. You still got to win. And they're doing that in Colorado, and that's a huge piece of this puzzle. It makes it feel like it's important to watch Colorado, and that'll happen this weekend when they take on Oregon.